Women in the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon are lamenting over the devastating and deadly consequences of the crisis that has been pulling on for close to 3 years today. They are calling for peace and a return to normalcy in the two Anglophone regions, the northwest and the southwest regions of the country, and abductions and other atrocities linked to the crisis on the rise in Fongo-Tongo and other villages close to the border between the littoral and the west region, and the crisis hit northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Those were our top stories. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime News on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bablet Jonathan. They have been severely affected by the deepening crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. They are lamenting, they are crying, they are begging for peace. They are also stepping up efforts to the return to normalcy in the crisis hit northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. They are women of the northwest region, and among them is our correspondent Mbu Stella. She spoke to some of the women and compiled this report.
Hey, my father, women are crying.
This outburst of emotion is a translation of what women, who form a majority of Cameroon's population, feel in their hearts as the crisis persists in the two English-speaking regions of the country. Women in the crisis regions have been hardest affected. They have lost their sons, daughters, husbands, homes, farms, and even their minds to the war.
We are not sleeping. At my age, I am suffering from trauma.
The Anglophone crisis and its devastating effects are not the only challenges women in general and indigenous women in particular face.
We see women cannot take decisions in our communities. Women are always left behind. They are there just to cook for the men, and then they cannot dialogue with the boys. The boys are sent to school while the girls stay at home. On the issue of marriage, most women are raped. They don't give consent to their husbands when they want to make love to them. So it's really a problem in my community.
It is against this backdrop that the Hope for the Needy Association, a Bamenda-based non-profit organization, recently organized a 3-day seminar aimed at building safe spaces for women and girls and building skills of women leaders on response to and prevention of gender-based violence in conflict.
I have to make sure that the things that I do are things that can promote peace in my community. And when we are looking for a solution to this our Anglophone crisis, the main thing is let's not blame. Let's preach the solution instead of preaching the problem.
According to the organizers, women must come out of their shells and contribute to the peace-building process.
Our program presents the woman not as the peacemaker. We present the fact that both women and men are peacemakers, but most often the society wants to put it like it's only a woman that is a peacemaker. So what we are saying is that peacemaking is not a gender role. So it goes way beyond us just crying. We don't want the world to look at us like people who are just crying for peace. The crying part just came in as like was an outburst of emotions.
While hoping for better days for the country as a whole, having a peaceful society is what the women have taken a commitment to achieve.
Stella reporting there from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda, and I told you in the headlines that the Anglophone crisis has continued spilling to notably localities along the border between the littoral and the west region and the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And one of the localities severely affected by the deepening Anglophone crisis is Fongo-Tongo in the west region of the country, where abductions and other atrocities linked to the Anglophone crisis and the pro-independence fighters are on the rise in that locality, and inhabitants are calling on government to step up security measures. Smart Jikan Gebre reports.
2018 was the last time lectures held in this classroom of Government Secondary School Fosong LLM. The school is today covered with grasses. In neighboring village of Fongo-Tongo, kidnapping has become the most profitable business. 2 weeks after 6 children were kidnapped and released, 4 women and a teenager are the latest to be taken away by a group of unknown gunmen. We were taken unaware by the abductors who took away 2 women at Ndifonda and at Ocha. The abductees were in the farm. I was in the farm working when I was told about the incident. I am the second wife and she is the third. The recent happenings are proof that the security situation of the 2 villages in the Menua division, sharing boundaries with Lebialem of the southwest region, is a call for concern. Reasons while newly appointed commander Mbang Minlo James descended to the scene to see the working condition of the military and the vigilante committee on the field. It is a bad wind that is currently blowing. The population should be aware and know that peace will return soon. Apart from the military assuring them of their security, they should also collaborate with us.
Pour nous renseigner et permettre à ce que nos actions soient plus efficaces sur le terrain.
Having sleepless nights for a while now, the population's lone prayer is for the return to normalcy in their different zones.
Cameroon's Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson René Emmanuel Sadi describes resolutions of the European Union Parliament on the socio-political and security tensions in the Republic of Cameroon as a force intended to destabilize the country, and some political actors describe the reaction of the Communication Minister as a communication void of valuable content. And of course, this came from the Minister of Shadow Cabinet, or the Shadow Cabinet Minister of the SDF. We also got the reactions of other politicians compiled in this report. And for me, I'm Strong Sander.
Following the reaction of the government of Cameroon to the European Union Parliament, political actors across the country have expressed converging and diverging views on the government's choice to respond and on some key declarations contained in the response of the government of Cameroon. To Jean-Robert Wafu, Shadow Cabinet Minister of Communication for the Social Democratic Front, SDF party, silence on the part of the government of Cameroon would have been a better option than the outing, which according to him is void of valuable substances.
Quand ce qu'on a à dire est moins important que le silence, on se tait.
He says the EU only reiterated concerns raised by Cameroonians and the Social Democratic Front party over the years and went further to question how the President of the Senate and Speaker of the National Assembly will speak on behalf of members of Parliament without an extraordinary parliamentary session convened.
Peut-être veut-on nous faire croire que le Sénat se résume au président du Sénat et que l'Assemblée nationale se résume.
Dr. Nick Gwanyam of St. Louis University Institute and member of the ruling CPDM party says energy should be directed towards saving lives that are being lost every day in the northwest and southwest regions than focusing on reactions and counter-reactions.
We cannot deny the fact that there's a lot of unnecessary killing of civilians and the military people for a war that is uncalled for. But we also must say that when these things are going on like this, you know, everybody who is concerned, be it a Cameroonian, a European, American or Indian, would want to see some kind of peace. So the issue is not what they said, the issue is their desire to have peace, and they are looking for ways and means of us having that peace.
He thinks Cameroon should not give an opportunity to others to find fault in the management of their affairs, especially with regard to the deepening Anglophone crisis.
Where we are today is not an accident. It's not an accident in the sense that, you know, the adage which goes that a stitch in time saves 9. If you have a wound and you don't treat it on time, it's going to become a large sore. And therefore, what started as a wound today is a large sore, and whatever treatment we have been giving to it has not been effective. And that's so people are looking at where we started and where we are today and saying, look, this thing is becoming a chronic sore, and if nobody pays attention to it, it will become cancerous.
Dr. Nick also thinks that the parliament in Cameroon has failed as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned.
Parliament have done absolutely nothing about it. Go and check the records, there's nothing.
To Robert Mote, ambassador of the ruling CPDM party, Cameroon can't talk of sovereignty at a time when she, like many other countries, have just relative sovereignty. He, however, says that the European Union has no right to speak on the affairs of a state like Cameroon, given that the EU Parliament is just an organization. Jean-Robert Wafo of the Social Democratic Front, Dr. Nick of St. Louis University and CPDM party, as well as Robert Mote, ambassador of the CPDM, all agreed that the Anglophone crisis is an issue to be handled with urgency by all Cameroonians.
Coming up, Immaculate Fogwe takes a look at efforts of the Commission on Bilingualism and Multiculturalism to put together the broken pieces of national life in what is now termed living together.
Living together in Cameroon is increasingly threatened by the ongoing crisis in the 2 English-speaking regions, marginalization, hate speech, and tribalism. To some critics, living together is more or less a slogan appearing in almost all speeches made by government authorities and other stakeholders who they say do little or nothing to promote the aspect of social cohesion. It was for this reason why the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism held a one-day brainstorming conference presided over by Peter Mafani Musonge, President of the Commission, on the 11th of April 2019 to examine and bring up solutions to the vices threatening the country's unity.
A few days ago, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism organized a brainstorming day on living together in this very hotel, striving to promote bilingualism, multiculturalism in Cameroon with a view to maintaining peace, consolidating the national unity of the country, and strengthening the people's will on the daily practice of living together.
Since its creation, the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism has been striving to mend the broken pieces of national unity.
The colloquium on Cameroonian multiculturalism at the crossroads between tradition and modernity.
The resolutions that will be brought up after the end of the 2-day conference is expected to tackle the problem that is hindering living together in Cameroon.
Several persons have been rendered homeless in Daido, here in Cameroon's economic capital Douala. Their houses were consumed by wild flames. Details in this report.
Inhabitants of Grand Moulin in New Daido neighborhood of Douala 1 subdivision watch helplessly as the ravaging flames will reduce this construction into ashes. The arrival of the first tanker of the firefighting unit could not contain the flames from spreading further. The ravaging flames provoked by a burning pot went even further before the arrival of the second tanker of the firefighting unit in Douala. The landlord says the fire started in one of the rooms of his tenants, who probably forgot his pot on fire. The flames then moved from the immediate room to reduce 7 other rooms of the plank house into ashes. Apart from the plank house, the main building was also burnt down to nothing, though inhabitants say the situation would have been worse without the timely intervention of the firefighting unit. The landlord, who doubles as the interim quarter head, says material and financial loss has been estimated to millions of francs CFA. The inaccessibility of Grand Moulin in New Daido Douala 1 subdivision, observers say, negatively affected the rescue efforts of the firefighting unit in Douala.
Digital transformation brings forth unmatched opportunities of growth, value creation and development in general, but it is also a source of serious threats to internet users and institutions, and the currently ongoing threats of cyber attacks and data leaks have compelled many to add more security protocols to their processes to protect their data, and this slows down digital transformation and collaboration and strangles business operations. And in Cameroon, some experts see some of these threats are products of flaws in internet governance, and these issues are being examined at the ongoing 7th edition of the National Internet Governance Forum, organized by the National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies in the Douala. And for greater details, here is an extract of what the Director General of the National Agency for Information and Communication Technology, Dr. Ebot Eno, told Equinox Television. Take a listen.
Key aspects which are important: the availability of the internet, the accessibility of the internet, and the availability of the internet, affordability of the internet. You know, if internet is not available, then not everybody can have access to it. You understand? A good chunk of the community will be kept out. So internet needs to be available. And again, the investment aspects of internet, we need to invest in infrastructure. It needs to be inclusive, and it needs to be people-centered. It's about people. And you know, initially, internet, the traditional internet was about people. That's internet of people. But now there is a shift. It's evolving towards internet of things. You know, there is a talk about smart cities, smart ambulances, smart homes, with sensors deployed in our communities, across our cities and our homes, to capture information and then process this information and help us to make informed decisions based on the information captured by the sensors. So, and with all this vast information, you need artificial intelligence to process this vast information. You've heard about big data. Big data is about the storage of these huge volumes of information, and again, you need bandwidth to be able to communicate in real time over this network. So the Internet Governance Forum is here to address all these issues related to the governance of the internet.
Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving Steve Chumba. He is the manager of Active Spaces. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for accepting our invitation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're going to be talking about the threats that come along with digital transformation. Yeah. You are in the digital world and you are fully active. Managing issues that has to do with the digital world. What are some of the threats, major threats that are coming along with digital transformation?
I think as a country, when we talk about threats and we're talking about security, we have to think of security in general. We can't just separate security online and security offline. We generally have to talk about security in general as a country. Do people feel safe? Are people safe in a country? Of course, in regards to online security, there are a lot of threats that could occur. We need to think about how do we protect our youth on the internet. We need to start thinking about how do we protect data. How can we protect people online? When you're on Facebook or when you're doing a financial transaction online, how do we protect you? How do we protect you from hackers? How do we protect you from scammers, and so on and so on? Those are the questions that we need to be thinking about. But of course, there are threats in relation to the internet and being online.
Threats like?
Threats like I said, in terms of financial, how do we protect people that are making online financial transactions? How do we protect people? How do we protect companies? How do we protect a company's information? How do we? I'm sure you wouldn't want your personal or your banking details to be all over the internet just because a bank was not protected enough.
You're talking there about data leaked.
It's not just about data leaks. It's about people maybe hacking your bank for other reasons. So it's not just about data leaks. And the point is, we should not minimize the problem of security online to fake news and data leaks. That's not what it should be reduced to. We should think about how we protect people details in the banking sector, in the health sector. Those are the kind of things that we need to be thinking about.
The fake news and of course the issue of data leaking are major problems, serious problems that should be considered.
It's not our worst problem. We have worse problem than that. But in regards to fake news, I have a take on this. I think we really have to look deep into our culture. Internet is just a mean to share a given information, right? So it's not just an internet problem, it's a society problem, it's a cultural problem which needs to be addressed from our educational system first, and so on. That's what I think.
No, you were attending the seminar organized by the National Agency for Information and Communication Technology today in Douala, and this organization is seeking to solve some of these problems, some of these security issues online. What's your take on the methodology or the strategy adopted by this organ to solve these issues?
I think what Antique is doing is a good start. Organizing a forum such as the one we attended today, it's a good start. At least it allows us to be here today and talk about the subject. So it's a good start. I think yes, there could be we could do more in regards to fake news, in regards to security. But I think it's a good start. At least we're starting that conversation. But we should not stop here because there's a lot more to be done. We need to start thinking about how do we use tech in schools, not just limited to having a classroom full of computers. How do we actually integrate technology, the media, into our educational system? We raised the point.
And the classrooms full of computers is still quite a rare thing to find in many parts of Cameroon today. Most often theory, like somebody highlighted during that forum, that in some places teachers are obliged to draw a computer on the board in order to teach the students or pupils.
It's true. So these are the questions that we need to start thinking about and saying, look, somebody took an example today about the fact that we need to protect our kids on the internet whilst they're on Facebook or whatever. My thing is this: I believe, as a teacher myself, I believe that the internet is a great tool to educate our youth, but we need to take control of it. Right now, what we've done is that we've left we've left our kids, our population, to the mercy of the internet. So what we need to do is take it back, integrate it into our education system, and make sure that we actually give the right tools to our kids.
Practical knowledge, not just theory.
Of course, that's what I believe. I think how do we? It's not just about having a computer or using a computer in your classroom. It's about integrating it into your lessons. Okay, it's about making it part of your teaching and learning. That's what I believe.
Now, looking at the way the Antique is trying to solve this matter. Do you think that what should be done, what more should be done as compared to what it's doing now? What more should be done?
One thing, for example, that I've seen done in other countries, and we have been fighting for that to happen in Cameroon, is to have an eye for policy meetup between all the stakeholders. Because right now in Cameroon, we have yet to define how digital economy policies, right? So I think that would be a good start to say, okay, bring all the stakeholders, and by that I mean the universities, the entrepreneurs, the banks and the financial institutions, the government itself, and say, let's talk about our digital economy. Where do we want to take it, and what do we put in place to allow this great sector of activity to grow in our country? So I think that will be a start. Get all the stakeholders together and actually sit down and devise a plan as a country, which I'm yet to see.
That is, you're talking about enhancing the legal framework in order to check what is posted, what is published, what is said.
No, it's not. Please do not just. It's not about. Again, it's not about fake news. It's not just about what is posted and what is said. It's bigger than that. We need to start thinking about the startups, the entrepreneurs. How do we okay, we've been talking about internet today, right? Where is our content? Where are the services? We are still, and I was quite disappointed that in a meeting like this, organized by the highest authority in our country, we're using WhatsApp or Facebook like examples. Why can't we take a local company as example of tech that is working, that is useful to our community? So it's not about fake news to me.
It's not only about.
It's not just about that. In fact, fake news is not the pressing issue. The most pressing issue to me is how do we develop the whole economy of digital economy. That's what matters more to me. So yes, the conversation about fake news is important, and we should have it.
Notably with regards to the present context where we have hate news and hate speech, fake news and hate speech that have contributed a lot to the crisis that we are experiencing today in the northwest, in the southwest, and in other parts of the country. And
I agree. The question I'll ask you is this: if internet was not there, would this hate speech still exist? I believe it would.
But the propagation will not be to the
of course, perhaps it would not have been. Perhaps it would not have been. Yes, so therefore perhaps the question should be, how do we manage that? And I think it's going to be very difficult. It is going to be very difficult to manage that. And remember, internet, anybody can post anything from anywhere. How do we change that? Do we not have pressing issues? I think we do have pressing issues. Fake news. Again, we debated a lot today about what is the essence, what is fake news. What do we consider fake news? If I say it, is it fake? If you say it, if the government says it, which one is fake news? We're still debating about this. For me, we should be focusing on the issues that real matters. The matter of security, online and offline. Those are the things. We need a legal framework to help us develop this industry.
All right, Steve Nchumba, you are the hub manager of Active Spaces. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.